Picture a place so incredibly cramped, so chaotically vibrant, that merely residing in the capital takes 7 years off your life. Yes, 7 years. And that's not clickbait, you know? It's an official statistic. Welcome to Bangladesh, the country that was born into hardship and never found the reset button. Here, the human density is so absurd that even the wind queues up to pass. There are 176 million people trying to breathe in the same shared space, as if everyone chose to reside within a single train carriage. Dhaka, the capital, is like an uncapped online game. Every corner is occupied, every street is clogged, every inch is fought over by a rickshaw, a vendor, a random shout, and someone who just popped up there. And in the most impoverished areas, the human density soars to 250,000 individuals per square kilometer. Damn, that's a lot. It's so crowded that if you blink, you'll wake up in another family's house. And if someone farts? My friend, everyone breathes it in together. There's no escape. This is Bangladesh, cramped, noisy, creative chaos, and a stubborn energy that teeters on the brink of collapse, yet keeps going. Here, reality needs no exaggeration. It's already extreme. Now that you understand this little hell on earth, how about we see where this paradise called Bangladesh is located? The geography of hell. Bangladesh was born in the worst possible place for a country to exist. It is like trying to build a house on top of a leaky waterbed and simply hoping that gravity will just give up. 3 colossal rivers descend from the Himalayas. They are liquid monsters, and they meet right here. This trio creates the world's largest delta, a fertile and cursed plain. This delta exhibits 2 personalities, the generous, with rich, moist land, feeding millions. The killer sinks, drowns, destroys, and redraws the country annually. Yes, Bangladesh's map is never the same year to year. The nation is 80% water, and 3 significant floods are routinely scheduled events. 21% of the country is regularly submerged, and in poor years, up to 60%. Bangladeshis refer to this as a typical Tuesday. And just when you think it's over, the cyclones arrive. Here, hurricanes aren't exceptions. They're uninvited regular guests. In 1970, the deadliest hurricane in history struck. 500,000 dead, 500,000. An entire city vanished. In 1991, 6-meter waves struck the country, feeling like a collective slap from the ocean. 139,000 dead, and in 1998, Bangladesh practically vanished from the map. 2/3 of the country submerged, 30 million people affected. Now tell me, can there be fixed infrastructure in a place that changes like a teen's mind? Bridges, roads, dams, and power infrastructure all need constant rebuilding, as rivers frequently shift course, turning left, right, or carving new shortcuts. Even so, the people have found a way to survive. Floating gardens, plots that float. If water rises, so does the garden. If the water recedes, the garden stays. Apocalypse-level creativity. Yet, the delta brings a toxic bonus. This water drags plastic, heavy metals, industrial waste, chemical detergents. The soil, which should be a blessing, becomes a poisonous buffet. This is Bangladesh, the world's most fertile land stuck in the world's most polluted ecosystem. A country born and dying annually, yet persisting in its existence. And now that you've survived the geography, hold on tight. Let's get into real life. Suicidal traffic, university-level rickshaw, and air that gives you cancer just by looking. Real life. Now that you understand that Bangladesh's geography seems like a collective punishment from all the gods, let's move on to real life, where what's an exaggeration elsewhere, here is just Tuesday. Dhaka, the capital, isn't for walking. It's for surviving the commute. The horn isn't a warning. It's the official language. No one curses you out in traffic. They simply politely communicate their intent to run you over. Logic? Forget it. Traffic lights barely exist. Signs are a myth. Traffic regulations are found in a manual that no one ever consults. Want to get an idea of the level? A 5-kilometer road can take 2 hours. Not by accident, but by design. Meanwhile, across the rest of the nation, daily power blackouts, constant water shortages, entire villages facing electricity failures, and a capital that adds 700,000 new inhabitants annually, as though the heavens possessed a hidden portal depositing people directly into Dhaka. But the chaos isn't just from people, it's from the trash. Here, trash on the street isn't a problem, it's a tradition. The sewage system, a 1990s version, when will it be functional? 89% of the population is without a proper network. Many neighborhoods depend on a community toilet in the middle of an alley. And there's literally a river that turned into a dump. It was a river before. Today it's a living dump. So much trash that the water vanished. Still, Dhaka keeps its most iconic cultural item. The colorful rickshaws, looking like they were painted by 10 artists in a paint fight. Beautiful, until you see people hanging from buses, atop trains, in windows, on roofs. Mobility here is an action movie without CGI. The train is packed inside, outside, on the roof, in the cracks, and everywhere else that only God can explain. And the best part? To them, it all makes sense. Dhaka functions on its own unique logic. The constant honking is a kind of sonic Wi-Fi. In fact, a red light doesn't mean you should stop. It just means, look before you cross, champion. It's their chaos, a chaos that promises nothing, yet delivers exactly what you expect. And now that you've seen how the country works on the outside, it's time for the cruelest part, the air. Yes, the air, life's most basic need. Breathing in Bangladesh is practically an extreme sport. The invisible enemy. If you thought Bangladesh was a tough country so far, take a deep breath. Actually, don't. Here comes the invisible enemy, the air. Here, breathing isn't automatic, it's a risk contract. Bangladesh is officially the dirtiest and most toxic country in the world. It's not a meme, not sensationalism, not an influencer exaggerating. It's a fact. The capital's air pollution is 15 times beyond WHO's acceptable limit. To translate, one day in Dhaka is like smoking 22 cigarettes. Even if you've never touched a Marlboro in your life. And it's not that Instagrammable gray pollution of a big city. What covers Bangladesh isn't fog. It's dust, poison, and heavy metal. You look out and think, wow, beautiful sunrise. No, champ. That's floating arsenic, lead, cadmium, mercury, all flying around, entering your lungs like it's on the daily menu. It's the only place where air has more ingredients than a cheap energy drink. The result? A widespread epidemic of everything. Asthma, bronchitis, lung infections, and cancer. More than 200,000 people die each year just because of the air. Another 669,000 crowd the hospitals, looking for clean air that doesn't exist. And it doesn't stop with the air. The food breathes the same poison. Meat sold in the middle of the street, literally covered in toxic dust. Water boils along with chemical particles, and the heat turns the country into a greenhouse for bacteria. But where does so much misery come from? Factories? Yes. Cars? Yes. Chaotic traffic? Clearly. However, the ultimate major culprit is the brick kilns. That's right, bricks. The simplest thing in construction has become a collective chemical weapon. Bangladesh boasts 7,000 brick kilns, fueled by burning coal, wood, plastic, and even old tires. Zero filters, zero control. Everything goes straight into the atmosphere. The kilns are situated right beside the cities, belching out thick black smoke and giving Dhaka the appearance of a post-apocalyptic film around the clock. And it all becomes a sick cycle. Brick dust falls on food, contaminates soil, poisons water, intoxicates plants, and returns to people's tables. It is, quite literally, the chaotic food chain itself. As the toxic cherry on top, you have the textile industry. Zara, H&M, Nike, Adidas. A large part of global fashion is sown here, and the chemical waste goes untreated into the rivers. Foaming water, garish colors, smells that make you rethink your own existence. Breathing here is a war, and it's a war that you just cannot win. At best, you survive. I already know the air kills, but what about the economy? The economy is complicated, because in Bangladesh, sometimes living costs more than dying. This is a disaster economy. If merely breathing in Bangladesh is already an impossible mission, then earning money here is practically a sport of survival. In many countries, labor enhances one's life. In Bangladesh, Working solely keeps you alive to persist in your work. It's a cruel loop. The salaries tell you everything. A doctor, 30 to 40,000 taka. An engineer, 35,000. A teacher, 20,000. Then you see the rickshaw driver enduring 40-degree sun and avoiding killer buses, earning more. This is Bangladesh being Bangladesh. Logic takes a vacation, and the situation worsens when we consider that Dhaka welcomes 700,000 new residents annually. That's almost 1 million people moving into a city that can't even handle those born there. It's like attempting to use a public restroom that has already been filled to capacity by previous users. The main engine of the economy is the textile sector. Want proof? Look at the tag on your t-shirt. If it says Made in Bangladesh, you're part of the spreadsheet. Zara, H&M, Nike, Adidas, all sewn here. And those who sew it earn merely $34 each month. $34! That barely pays for my weekend barbecue expenses. And it's not just the low pay. It's suffocating heat, toxic dust, long shifts, old machines, and that chemical smell that hugs you like a nightmare. But nothing beats the ship graveyard. Half of the world's giant cargo ships come here to die, and someone has to dismantle these monsters. That someone is workers facing falling metal plates, exploding tanks, asbestos in their lungs, chemicals burning their skin, and tons of steel waiting for one wrong step. All for $2 a day, the deadliest job on the planet. And yet, 200,000 people show up daily, because it's that or hunger. And when you think you're at rock bottom, then comes the waste economy. Approximately 8,000 tons of plastic get processed daily. Who sorts the trash? Children, aged 10 to 12, barehanded amidst sewage and smoke. It's misery mixed with routine, and that's the most frightening part. In the end, Bangladesh only stays afloat because a large part of its population has left. 13 million Bengalis are employed overseas, sending vital funds back home. Last year alone, these remittances amounted to a staggering $30.3 billion. So much foreign money means Bangladesh is like that relative who survives only with family help. The outcome is an economy that's struggling to breathe, but nonetheless perseveres. Strong on paper, fragile in real life, always hanging by a thread, about to snap. And now that you've seen the country's finances, let's move to the most painful part. When the very water you drink and the school where you pursue your studies begin to actively work against you. Everyday life is difficult. The more you observe daily life in Bangladesh, the more you question how these people find the strength to persevere. Here, what we consider basic like water, toilets, schools, and food comes set to an advanced patience test mode. Starting with water then? Just turn on the faucet and drink? Forget it. Most people depend on wells, and that water is loaded with arsenic, metals, bacteria, and a taste that should come with a sound alert. And the worst part is, for many people, that's the best option. Drinking water here is a risk. Sewage? Theoretically, it exists. In practice, it serves almost no one. Approximately 90% of the population lives without an adequate network. And where there are toilets, they're communal, crammed into an alley and shared by dozens of people. Basic things became a luxury. Remember the capital's famous river? The one that should be a postcard? Well, today it's so full of trash that it looks like solid ground. Layers upon layers of waste have buried the water. It's literally watching a river die. Education also bleeds. On paper, it's free. In real life, poor families have to pay bribes to get a spot, a notebook, a teacher. Half the schools don't even have a principal. There isn't even anyone officially in charge. The result? 70% of children leave primary school without knowing how to read or do simple math. Many, by age 14, are incapable of comprehending even a brief sentence. And we're talking about a country with almost 180 million inhabitants. While education sinks, hunger holds strong. Almost a quarter of children suffer from stunted growth. The staple food is rice, 250 kilograms per person per year. It's a lot, and it's not enough. Lots of quantity, very little variety. No protein, no anything. At home, the impact persists. Just over half the families, exactly 54%, own a refrigerator. The rest live on what doesn't spoil quickly, in a hot, humid country full of health hazards. And what's more, begging has turned into a way of life. It's not uncommon to see people who could be working choose to beg in the streets, as it often pays more than formal employment. It's sad, but it makes sense within the country's logic. The more you observe Bangladesh, the more unbelievable their resilience becomes. Life happens despite everything, despite the water, the trash, the lack of infrastructure, the fragile education, the limited food. It's a harsh daily life, completely outside our norm, but it reveals an almost brutal strength. Now that you understand the daily life, let's delve into an even deeper aspect: how culture, customs, and taboos profoundly shape life in Bangladesh, revealing the nation's invisible fractures. Culture, taboos, and social fractures. I've seen confusing countries, I've seen complicated countries, I've seen countries that set trends. But Bangladesh? It's like Bangladesh decided to play on hard mode, unlocking every bizarre rule imaginable, and then acting as if everything was absolutely normal. To begin with, 99% of the population is Bengali. Such homogeneity makes it seem like someone copied and pasted the same face until the map was complete. Nevertheless, the country is fraught with a myriad of cultural, religious, and social conflicts. Because, of course, when everyone is the same, society invents new reasons to fight. Islam is the official religion, but the nation acknowledges Hindu, Buddhist, and Christian holidays. So, rigid in theory, yet flexible in practice, depending on the government's mood. It's the classic you can, but not too much. Now, for social life. Girls, especially in the countryside, live in a parallel world. More than 80% of young women, aged 14 to 20, are unable to even leave their homes unchaperoned. Yes, they cannot simply exist on the street. And if they happen to be seen conversing with boys, boom, scandal, family shame, social tribunal, it's a live medieval soap opera. It's that cultural aspect in Muslim nations where they still insist on treating women as mere objects of reality many European progressives choose to relativize for the sake of their narrative. And then comes the most surreal part: sexuality. Being gay in Bangladesh is as accepted as a hurricane on a picnic day. The word is an insult in traffic, on the street, everywhere. LGBTQIA plus foreigners say it's like traveling back in time, but backwards, or rather, in reverse. This is typical of a country claiming tolerance, yet whose religion is Islam. Just a reminder that New York elected a Muslim, you know? But there's an unexpected exception. The Hijras, a traditional trans community recognized as a third gender since 2013. They have their own vote, registration, progress, right? It only sounds like it. In 2024, Hijras were banned from entering some mosques. It's like saying, you exist, but please don't show up. And then there are the Dalits, about 6.5 million invisible people. They do the hardest, most necessary, and most dangerous work. And they're treated as if they carried a luminous sign. I'm not human enough. It's that inequality that makes you angry and ashamed at the same time. But Bangladesh wouldn't be Bangladesh without a touch of cultural absurdity. Pan, a mix of leaf, lime, nut, and tobacco, which people chew with pride like it's apocalypse chewing gum. The main problem? It causes oral cancer at absurd rates and leaves bright red stains everywhere. The city takes on the appearance of a sponsored zombie movie. Despite this, the Bengali people remain incredibly friendly. They live in utter chaos, surrounded by odd rules and dysfunctional systems. Yet they keep smiling, inviting you to dine, treating foreigners as if they were long-lost family. Then you realize Bangladesh makes no sense to us, yet it holds profound meaning for them. This mix of tradition, resistance, and cultural stubbornness is fascinating yet frustrating. But to understand why all this exists, we need to look at its history. A history of divisions, conquests, wars, independence, and, naturally, more chaos. The country born in chaos. To start, Bangladesh spent almost 2 centuries under British rule. Enough time for 3 generations to be born, live, and die without seeing the country decide a single thing about its own future. The British came, exploited the resources, took everything they could, and when they departed, they left a farewell present, a truly absurd map. In 1947, the British surveyed the area and concluded, "We'll divide this territory, and we'll do it poorly." They then established two Pakistans: West Pakistan, now Pakistan; East Pakistan, which became Bangladesh. One small detail: the two were separated by 1,000 miles of India in between. It's like creating a country with headquarters in Manaus and Buenos Aires and expecting it to work. And as ever, when territory is hastily divided, East Pakistan's Bengalis were deemed second-class citizens. The economy was controlled by the West, politics too, and any attempt by the Bengalis to have a voice was ignored. It was the classic: we're the same country, but you, in the back, stay silent. The situation got worse until it completely deteriorated in 1970, when a natural disaster devastated East Pakistan, and the government in the West simply didn't care at all. The final straw came the following year. The Bengalis won the national election, and West Pakistan decided it would not accept the result. That was it. Light the fuse. East Pakistan declared independence, and one of modern Asia's most traumatic chapters began. The 1971 war was brief yet brutal, marked by massacres, repression, and extreme violence, ranking among the 20th century's most savage conflicts. The war only ended because India stepped in and fully supported the Bengalis. In 13 days, West Pakistan's military collapsed, and Bangladesh was born. But then comes the bitter part. The country gained freedom and inherited a destroyed infrastructure, chronic poverty, a non-existent economy, and a giant colonial past on its back. It was essentially, congrats, you're independent. Here's your flag, along with a complete package of unforeseen problems you certainly never requested. Since 1971, Bangladesh has been striving to emerge from this shadow. Amidst natural disasters, political instability, external exploitation, and internal chaos, the country seeks a balance that never came. And with this recent history fresh in our minds, we now delve into the most pressing and tense scenario: the current political climate that is once again driving Bangladesh to the brink of collapse. The politics of hell. In real life, inequality only grew. Joblessness soared. Frustration became common. Then one day, this pressure cooker exploded. Thousands hit the streets, futureless youth, stifled families, people weary of corruption. And how did the government respond? With bullets, with violence, with chaos. The result? Over 1,400 dead. It's so absurd it sounds like a war statistic, but it was a protest. In the midst of the confusion, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina simply fled to India. Yes, she fled. She left the country leaderless and directionless with a terrified populace. And as if that weren't enough, there's still the climate time bomb. By the year 2050, approximately 17% of Bangladesh is projected to vanish because of rampant flooding and significant erosion. This implies a staggering 20 million climate refugees, signaling the emergence of the largest global crisis. Today, Bangladesh hangs by a thread, trying to grow while literally trying not to sink. It's a country trapped between a heavy past, an unstable present, and a future that seems to be erased from the map. Short, direct, painful. Bangladesh is fighting for its very existence. If you've made it this far, go ahead and comment below. Hell on earth. I want to see who really made it through this tour of chaos. And hey, don't hesitate. The video appearing on your screen now is about another one of these captivating paradises. Click it quickly before it vanishes. Trust me, you truly won't want to miss it. Thanks, and see you on the next insane journey.